Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today's episode is a winter wonderland of a truck overland adventure with Boomer and I. As you guys can see, the truck is loaded full of gear. We literally just arrived at this very back country location of basically just a little turnaround spot of an old logging road. Nobody's been up here in this section, so we literally broke trail coming in the last little bit. And as you guys can probably notice, the truck is on a little bit of a hill. I am going to have to flatten it out later on. I can either do so by cutting wood and placing it underneath of the tires, or just repositioning the truck. We'll see how the night goes and how the day goes, where I want to position things. Boomer's running around here right now. He is having a blast running in the snow. Come on up. Come on. He wants to go in the bed and get all dried off, but I have multiple changes of clothing for Boomer, so we're going to stay nice and warm on this adventure. And we brought a ton of gear to stay comfortable as well. So the plans for today are have a massive campfire outdoors, and we brought a secret weapon for staying warm tonight other than the obvious wood stove that is in the truck, which many viewers already know of. Do you want to go down? Come on, go play. So we're gonna get unpacked, start on a hot drink, and get some of this gear out and get it set up and start enjoying this day. Alright everybody, while we're waiting for this water to come up the temperature for our hot coffee, I might as well touch on a few upgrades and a few new pieces of gear to the channel. First off, yes, I finally broke down and grabbed myself a Trangia stove. I believe this is the 27. It's the smaller, more solo portable one. And it came with the two pots, the non-stick pan, frying pan, the gripper, the stove, and the lid for basically simmering, the little simmer ring. So I did pick that up. I've been wanting one for a very long time. Basically what this system does is encapsulates your alcohol burner. So it could be whipping through right now with really strong winds and it would not affect that at all. It also maximizes the efficiency of the alcohol burn by really making that kettle or pot very, very hot. And it has nice flip out stands for different size pots and pans. So that is a new piece, as you guys can see. We're slowly starting to rumble right now. The other piece is I did add a 4-inch porthole through the side of the cap. Now I can run the diesel heater inside of the truck cap. I will be getting a mount that actually hooks onto my truck tire to get the diesel heater up off of the ground. But right now it's underneath the truck, kind of on the ground, so it's totally fine there. And the third biggest thing with the truck is, yes, it is massive now. So it is now up to a 10-inch lift, combination of suspension and body lift. It is on 40-inch crawlers, 13.5 inches wide on 17-inch rims. And the front bumper is an NFAB bumper. It's a pre-runner style bumper that I actually Frankensteined with the old push bar that I had on the Ram before. And welded them together, created a neat little welding bracket so they both fit, they mesh really well, which gave me the option to then weld on tabs for limb risers, which are those tight wires that go from the hood to the roof. Basically parting way when I go down the trail now, it'll push all the branches away as I'm smacking in my windshield. So this is rumbling away. Let's get this hot coffee going and get a chair set up and relax a little bit. All right, everybody. Coffee break was pretty awesome. Just chilling out here. Super quiet out here. Boomer's running around chasing things, listening for birds and stuff. But coffee break is basically done. I've got to say that I am super stoked on the Trangia. I'm really happy I went with that finally after all these years. It's always nice to have new gear, and I am definitely have no shortage of gear, but one important thing is I use all of my gear. I use it different trips, different times of the year. I always make a point to cycle things in and just use it. That keeps it fun and fresh for me. Different locations, different gear, that's what I'm all about. So this was really fun. I'm going to be using this a lot more on the channel, absolutely. But there is something that I do need to get done. It is getting later in the day. I did bring the chainsaw. I do want to have a big campfire tonight to stay nice and warm and relax out here. The weatherman apparently tells us that there's a big snowstorm rolling in this evening into tomorrow morning, all night long. I don't know if it's going to happen, but I do want to be ahead of the game if it does happen. So I've got two sources of heat. I've got the wood stove, and I'm already stocked full of these compressed little bio bricks, sawdust bricks, which you guys have seen me use tons of times on the channel. That is going to be for heating the back of the truck while I'm in there lounging around watching a movie, getting changed a little later on. It also is good for cooking. It's also good for light. It just gives a beautiful ambient glow inside of the truck. I never burn the wood stove all night for two reasons. One, I can't be bothered to feed the stove. Even though if I stock probably 4 or 5 of these in that stove and damp it down, it will burn all night long. There'll be a hot coal bed in there and it will stay nice and warm all night long. Which brings me to my second reason. I sometimes move around when I sleep, and I don't want my feet kicking the sleeping bag into the glass door of the stove and damaging my sleeping bag. So I just let the stove go out. I load a log in there and I basically roll over, go to sleep. A couple hours later, it's out. I wake up, the truck's cold, not a problem. That's why it's camping. But it is going to be nice now that I got that porthole put in the cap. I can just reach over with the remote key fob, turn on the diesel heater, crank that camper nice and hot, reach over, light the wood stove, shut the diesel heater off, and then revert back to wood heat. So the truck camper is good for heat, is what I'm trying to say. But I do need to gather some firewood for the outside fire, which I'm going to start as soon as I tidy this stuff up. Alright everybody, I've got the campfire going right now, and I've gone ahead and piled all of the wet and damp logs all the way around the fire, so hopefully that'll continue to dry those out into the day and the evening, so later on tonight we'll have some fresh firewood to burn. Fingers crossed. So I am just getting ready to cook supper, and what I brought with me was my propane scuttle burner with my gigantic cast iron pan, for the sole purpose of there is a so-called winter storm approaching. I don't know if it's going to or not. So having the campfire is definitely a good thing to have. I could cook on the fire, but I had already planned on cooking either right here on this, in the event that I couldn't source firewood or I was stuck in snow, or I can cook on top of the wood stove on a smaller frying pan. So I'm just going to go ahead with that plan that I've already set out to do instead of cooking on the fire. So basically, I'm going to set my pan up near the tailgate area. I'm going to be cooking burgers and a couple other things on here, so I got a lot of room to work with. So let's get cooking and enjoy a hot meal next to the campfire. All right, guys, supper time is all done, and I've got to say, absolutely awesome. Boomer and I both had food. He had half a hamburger because I could not finish both, and they were absolutely incredible. I have not cooked burgers outdoors in a long time. Those were mozzarella and jalapeno burger patties, so definitely good. Some mayo on it, some onion. Boomer did not eat onion on his, of course, but man, that was good. 2 burgers, half went to him. I am stuffed. So before it gets dark, it is starting to actually get colder and the wind is picking up, so maybe that snow is going to fly in. I don't know, but I do need to clean up. So I've got the scuttle. I need to clean that, break that all down. Cooking on that thing is incredible. Probably the best $140 I've spent on cooking gear in probably ever. I love that thing just because it's so big that you can cook on it, and then you can surround your cooked food with whatever else is on there to keep it warm, so everything's hot when it's ready to eat, especially here in the wintertime. It's kind of a hindrance to cook things and to set them aside and reheat and all that stuff. That pan is awesome. I love it. So you'll be seeing a lot more of that for sure. So what I'm going to do is do a quick tidy up. I do have to get the chimney pipe put through the roof of the truck as well so I can light the wood stove later on. The diesel heater is prepped and ready to go, and I think Boomer is itching to come outside. He was a little cold, he was taking a nap, but he's got a jacket on now, he had some food, and that campfire is definitely calling his name. So let's make this clean up really quick and sit next to the fire and chill out a little bit. Alright, I've got the roof cap taken off, I've got the pipe plumbed, so the wood stove is basically ready to go. I like keeping a large wrench with me because sometimes that cap gets frozen on up there and that helps break it free. It was a little frozen, but nothing too major. What I usually do is actually put a little bit of petroleum jelly around the threads. There is an O-ring on it as well, so that helps it from not freezing, and it deters the water from going down inside where it is a petroleum-based product. That usually works really well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this package open of these logs, and I think I'm only going to put in probably a handful, maybe 5 or 6 of them, and then put the rest in the back seat of the truck just so it's not taking up room in the camper. It is nice to have some on hand, but where I do have the diesel heater for tonight as well, I don't really feel that I need to have that many. So maybe I'll just do 1 layer. I do plan on being up late watching a movie. I do have a movie I really want to watch. If I enjoy the movie, I will let you guys know what movie it was. If I don't, I'm not going to say. So I don't know. We'll see how that goes. But 1 layer is all I'm going to do. So that's 5. I've got 1, 2 in there. So that's 5, 6, 7 plus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of the square bricks, and then maybe one log that's broken into 3 pieces. So that's enough for a whole night, realistically. Like, that's a lot. But I also want some for the morning. I don't want to have to jump out of the truck, go in the front, grab the stuff, come all the way back. So that's why I like having extra. If I don't need it, I don't need to use it. Pretty simple. So I like putting these underneath of the stove. The thing with this stove is no heat goes to the bottom. And the reason why I'm mentioning that is because there's been a lot of questions and comments. People wondering why there's no heat shield underneath of the stove. There's no heat that goes down there. So the heat really comes out of the sides of this particular stove. Now, as you can see, my tailgate is slightly browned. Very, very slightly browned. This wood stove has been in here over a year. It has been burning like crazy. I've had probably over 100 fires in here easily. My wife and I, we went to Newfoundland for 14 days. We had a fire back here, I think almost every day on that trip. All night long, kind of roasting, nice and toasty and warm. It works totally fine. So all I did for a heat shield on the back and on the side was just probably, I don't know, maybe an 1/8 inch thick of sheet steel. That's it. And I actually used lug nuts as spacers because that's all I had on hand. But I do have a whole video on that, of the install, the whole camper build. I'll put the link down in the video description. So if you have any questions at all, please refer to that video, as well as my van build video. We did and installed the exact same stove in our camper van. Definitely check those 2 links down in the description. And that's basically all I had to say about the wood stove. So that is going to be nice later on, but as you guys will notice, it is not snowing yet. The temperature is coming down, but it has not started to snow. So I don't know what's going to happen, but I can tell you that my butt is going to be parked in front of that campfire in about 5 minutes. So I'll catch up with you guys over next to the campfire. Once I get my wool sweater and a couple things put away, I'm going to go sit down. So catch up with you guys in just a moment. So now that we got camp lit up, as it gets darker, if we do stay out, I can definitely see what's going on, and Boomer can also see where he's at and what he's doing. So this fire is now ripping with all that wind coming through. It is getting very, very cold. Moving away from the fire, it is definitely cold. I checked the temperature again, it's down to -7 degrees Celsius, and who knows what it is with that wind whipping through here. I do have my down jacket inside, but obviously I don't want to wear it next to the fire. I do have my wool anorak right here, but I don't want to wear that as well because it's probably going to be too warm next to the fire. So now I'm in between that stage of hot and cold, but I'm still loving it. This is definitely a fun way to camp, bring the truck, bring some gear, have a good time, smoky fire, drying out, and yeah, we'll take it from here. I am going to light the wood stove though, because I know when he goes in, I'm going to be going in with him. So instead of messing around with the diesel heater, I'll just light the wood stove, get that crackling, and that way when we jump in, we'll have some nice wood heat, and then later on in the evening, switch over to the diesel heater. All right, guys, jumping inside of the camper now. It got really cold, windy, and it is total darkness outside. Boomer is loving it in here. He is back to life, nice and warm again. The wood stove is cranking out some serious heat. I've already changed in my base layers and sleep clothing, so I got my shoes and my pants drying out right in front of the wood stove. And if you guys can hear, the diesel heater is on right now. So I decided to test the diesel heater just to make sure everything was going to be okay. And it's a good thing I did because I actually had a faulty wire. So I had to basically grab my multi-tool out of the front of the truck. Luckily, I carry all kinds of little spare parts and tools and whatnot. I had some electrical tape, I had wire strippers, I had the little piece of wire that I needed. So I basically spliced together a new harness going from the diesel heater into the SAE connectors. Everything is working totally fine now. So I've got it cranked up right now on max. It is cranking in some hot air. I'm just about ready to shut it off actually. I've got the key fob right here. So if I point this out the window and press and hold off, can't hear a difference, but okay, it did turn off. There it goes, I can hear it. I was just checking the jackery there to see the output so I could then tell if it's still high or low. It did shut off. So I've got it positioned so I can basically point this out the window and it'll turn on and off. I can increase the heat, decrease the heat. I just wanted to run it on high so it'll burn off any residual oil or buildup that's inside of the motor in there, because whenever you burn a diesel heater, you do want to crank it on the maximum heat before shutting it off to burn off any carbon deposits. And it's going to do its cool down cycle right now, and then it'll totally shut off. So the benefit of doing this, if you guys are new to truck camping or rooftop camping with diesel heaters, there are two methods to turn this on and off. I could turn it on and off with the key fob, or I can turn it on and off using the battery unit. So once that totally shuts down and it stops blowing the fan, I can reach over to the jackery and turn the jackery totally off. And then what I got to do is basically when I want to turn it on, I turn the jackery on, which will give the unit power, but it won't burn any power out of the jackery until I turn the actual diesel heater on with the remote. So I don't have to go outside and turn it on or turn it off. I do everything from right inside of here, the way that I have mine rigged up. So that's going to do its thing, cool down. The vent is right there. Position it near the head end so I can get the immediate heat and like open up my sleeping bag and let the heat just kind of loft right in there instead of mounting it in another spot. So that's going to work really great. That's going to cool down. It'll be off probably until later on tonight, maybe like 1 in the morning, or I might just crank it on in the morning when I wake up and then go back to the wood stove. The wood stove is cranking out some serious heat. Like the ceiling is hot right now. I checked the temperature moments ago. It was 31 degrees at head level. So up here, it feels like it's probably like 35, 36. It gets really toasty in here. It's super easy to control though. You damp the stove down and the temperature drops really quickly. Plus I've got 2 windows in my cap that I can open with bug nets, or I can just crack the back window open, which I do often to vent out some heat, and then damp the stove down, and it's super comfortable. So we are going to start relaxing. Good morning, everybody. It is a beautiful morning out there today. So, two things happened last night. One, obviously, that snowstorm did arrive. It is still snowing out there. It's not a heavy snow. It's a really, really fine mist. But it is whipping around out there. Just looking out the window right now. It's still pretty steady out there. So, the winds picked up. The snow definitely came in. The second thing that happened is, if you guys can hear some of that flapping and banging noise on the camera outside, the diesel heater hose disconnected off of the body of the diesel heater. So that means that it's not broken, it just came off in the wind. But that means that I was obviously too lazy to go outside and reconnect it. So it's still flapping around a little bit out there, which means no diesel heat for me or for Boomer. So we did not run the diesel heater at all. I turned it on last night and I suspected it came undone. It was really windy, the snow was blowing around, so I turned it on and let it run for a minute just to see if any hot air would come in through that pipe. Nothing came in, so I cracked the window here, poked my head out and looked, and sure enough it was disconnected. So we decided to not go outside and mess around with the diesel heater. Luckily the wood stove burned out, and it was really, really warm in this massive sleeping bag. I was almost too hot, so I had to actually unzip it. It is a, what is this? 8-in-1 sleeping bag. 8-in-1. So that means there are multiple layers. We unzipped it, so it is basically right now, last night we used it, it was kind of like a 4-in-1 sleeping bag. So a double wide, a lot thinner, and this thing was roasting hot. So we were definitely warm last night, and that's what I always try and tell the viewers, is never rely on your heat source when you go winter camping. Never rely on the stove, never rely on the diesel heater. Always rely on the things that you don't need to fuel, meaning the sleeping bag. And we stayed totally warm. So right now, just kind of perched up here, enjoying a bit of the wind and snow out the window of the truck. Got hot coffee on the go. I've got a little bit more in the kettle. So Boomer is excited. I'm afraid to open up the door and put him down on the ground to go pee, because I have a feeling the snow is going to be over his head and it's going to be like a little rabbit, boing, boing, boing. So I'll let him out when I go out, that way I can kind of help him and bring him back inside, get all the snow dusted off him. It looks as if, and honestly it looks as if there may be a foot of snow out there. Maybe 10 inches of snow. Just looking at the jack, or the winch on the back of the truck, the winch cover has got about 6 to 7 inches of snow on it, and it's a really small kind of area, so it can only pile up so high before it starts to fall off. And looking around, I mean, the campfire's totally gone, the campfire wood's gone. I'm gonna have to dig out those logs and get my canvas log carrier, which is on the ground. I flopped it over top of the firewood just in case it did snow. So the wood will be nice and dry, but I do need to get that out of there. My chair I jammed underneath of the truck, so that's totally fine. It wouldn't blow away or anything. Yeah, so I think the only failure that we had was the diesel heater hose just came undone. Other than that, we are going to have a lazy morning in here. Wake up, soak in a lot of this heat from the wood stove. I'm preheating my shoes and my pants right now next to the wood stove, so that way when I put everything on, it'll be nice and warm, and be able to jump out and carry on today. So just want to say good morning, guys, and cheers. Hot coffee in the snowstorm apparently that did arrive. So cheers, guys. Alright guys, well, we definitely got a foot of snow. There's 12 inches of snowfall here. There's a bit of a drift on the side of the truck, so it's not as deep, but in front of the truck, again, it's back up to a foot, even a foot and a half it looks like. So it's not terribly cold out. I'm just getting my wool sweater just in case it starts whipping through here, I start getting cold. It's easy for me to get in and out of the truck wearing wool rather than a down jacket. That way if I brush up against the stove, I'm not gonna melt my jacket. So I'm just gonna throw this in the back of the truck for now. And I am wearing my downfill pants, so they are thin, but they're actually very, very warm. And I've gotta say, it is wild out here. It is a winter wonderland all over again, guys. So Boomer's itching to get out, so I think I'm gonna throw his sweater on and dig for that canvas log carrier for the firewood somewhere's in here. Let him run around for a bit and we'll take the day from there. All right, so the snow is actually up to my knees deep, so it's over a foot for sure. It's just here in the open, it's blown away, so it's down to about 10 to 12 inches. Yeah, this is this is a pretty significant snowfall that happened overnight while I was sleeping. So we definitely got dumped on a lot, and it's not done yet, which is pretty awesome. I love being out in storms. It's definitely winter, it's definitely cold, so I think I'm gonna get done what I need to get done outside and then probably jump in or at least hunker next to the truck. Keep all this blowing snow off me because the wind is very, very cold. Woo! Winter storms, gotta love them. He is over his face in snow. So right now I'm just feeling for that firewood, and I actually found it, stepped right on it. Firewood's still nice and dry. I'm just after my canvas log wrap here. Do not want to forget that. This was a gift from my beautiful wife. How do you buy somebody who has everything? Basically a creative gift. She found a way to buy me something that I don't have and that I actually love and use very, very often, both as a sit pad and to carry firewood. So she did a really good job of finding something for someone that has everything. So definitely enjoying that. Boomer is hiding underneath the truck peeing. He does not want to be out in the snow. I don't know. Oh, here he goes. Yeah, he's playing now. He's usually really playful in the snow. I usually don't have to worry about him. So we'll see how he does. It's not so deep right here. Probably gonna run around for a few moments and then I think he'll want to go back in just because it's so deep. So he's like a little rabbit though. The snow's way over his head. I'm gonna throw this in the back of the truck and maybe grab another hot drink on the tailgate, which was iced up and really hard to open. Mind you, it's still not even all the way down. There's really thick ice on the outside, so get this put away and get warmed up. That wind is nasty cold. All right, guys, jumping back inside of the truck. Man, that wind is whipping around out there now. And for a second there, it looked like the snow was gonna let up. It's not. It is almost seems like it's snowing more now, actually. So, hunkering inside of here, getting dried off again. The beautiful thing with these lightweight down pants is they dry off very, very quickly. And that's the reason why I chose to put them on. They're light, they're warm, they dry fast, just like Boomer's jacket. He's a little wet right now. It'll dry out in just a couple moments. So the wood stove is throwing some massive heat right now. It feels great. This is amazing when you can just crawl inside of a warm, dry area. Even though you're covered in snow, whatever, just jump in, kick all the stuff off, and soak in some of the heat. So that's what we are going to do for a few moments. Basically, after this, I think we're going to be heading out of here. I got to let the stove burn out, put that log in there. It's probably got another hour before it's ready to be packed away totally. I could drive with it burning slightly, and I've done that many times in the past. I don't mean like flaming burning, I mean like hot coals in the bottom. That way I don't have to take the pipe off of the roof. I do have a carabiner thing. Sorry, Boomer's biting my hand, really distracted her now. I have a carabiner system on the side of the stove on a little chain, so I actually hook onto the door so the door can't fly open when I'm driving. And I've done that on purpose, not for fire, but I've actually done that on purpose so the door doesn't swing open when I'm driving and smash the glass all over the tailgate. So I can hook it and keep the door shut with a little bit of coals in there, enough to drive out of this 4x4 trail, which is probably about, I don't know, 7 kilometers from the main mountain road, which again is not really a road. Probably about 12 kilometers to civilization, let's just say that. Not terribly far to go, but this is a 4x4 trail and there's over a foot of snow out there, so definitely want to get after it before the day's too late, because if this turns into a really nasty mess and there's trees out on the trail and I've got to get out and chainsaw and cut and do all that stuff, who knows, we might end up doing another night up here in the truck. Might just say, nah, I'll just deal with it tomorrow. So that's the beauty, again, having a living space in your vehicle where you can just pull over and say, we're done, we're going to stay right here. I've got loads of heat, I've got loads of electronics to charge batteries and things, I've got all kinds of food, all kinds of clothing. Yeah, it's not going to be a big thing if we get stuck out here for another day, I'll tell you that. But yeah, that's basically what we're going to be doing. Warm up, have a little snack. Boomer's already eaten his breakfast, so he's good to go. But I might have a pack of oatmeal and just relax and just kind of take this morning low-key. But yeah, I want to thank you guys for joining us. There's not really a whole lot else to film. Just going to sit here and burn up the stove and then fire up the truck and head out of here slowly. So I'm going to say peace out to you guys. And thank you for joining. If you have any questions or comments, drop them down below as always. And I'll catch you in the next video.